Hello, this is Peter Woolfolk, producer and host of the Public Relations Review podcast. When I conceived this program, my idea was to provide public relations practitioners with a wide variety of solid, useful information and guidance from public relations professionals across America. And we are doing that. I will continue to cover important topics such as crisis communications and artificial intelligence and other such important topics. But I will also address other issues such as diversity in public relations, marketing to women, public relations trends, various data concerns, and much more. From time to time, I will also invite vendors of public relations products on to help you better understand how these products can improve your efficiency and your effectiveness. You will learn a lot from our podcast, so thank you for listening, and please inform your colleagues about the Public Relations Review podcast and continue listening. Thank you so very much.
Welcome. This is the Public Relations Review podcast, a program to discuss the many facets of public relations with seasoned professionals, educators, authors, and others. Now, here is your host, Peter Woolfolk.
Hello, and welcome to the Public Relations Review podcast. Nashville, Tennessee, also known as Music City, is one of the fastest growing cities in the country. An estimated 100 people per day are moving here. Perhaps you watched the recent NFL draft broadcast from Nashville. This event set records for television viewership and had over 600,000 people actually in town over this three-day event. The visitors spent just under $134 million. New restaurants and hotels are opening at a record pace. Running Magazine reported that there were 79 5K and other races held in Nashville over the past year. Live music in Music City is everywhere: jazz, blues, concerts, classical, and others. There is a renaissance in Nashville. What is going on? My special guest today is Butch Spiriton, president of the Nashville Convention Visitors Corporation. Butch, welcome to Public Relations Review podcast.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Now, you had mentioned to me not long ago that your Convention and Visitors Bureau uses only public relations to generate visitors and conventions to Nashville. So with that in mind, would you begin to let our listeners, not only around the nation, but in other countries around the world, hear some of the strategies and tactics you use to generate such a vast flow of visitors into Nashville?
Sure. So I'll qualify just a tiny bit.
Okay.
That I won't say we only use PR, but PR is our primary outreach vehicle. Kind of early on in my career, and it's funny, it came from my counterpart in Savannah when I was, I think, working in Mobile, and he didn't buy any advertising. And I started listening to him and watching, and then obviously you hope years of experience pay off, but when you want to influence somebody to come visit, they expect me to say nice things about Nashville.
Mm-hmm.
But if I can get somebody else, especially somebody else from out of town, somebody that might be a travel journalist, to say nice things about our town,
Mm-hmm.
I got a much better shot of converting. So we just took this approach of Nashville's, we're biased, fairly unique city. The authenticity that comes from our songwriting community is something really unique, and let's put Nashville out there and let other people talk about it. Paid off to the point where prior to 2019, 6 years in a row, multiple national and international travel-focused publications named Nashville as one of the top destinations in
Mm-hmm.
the world. Well, I can't buy that. I can't make that up. I can't afford to reach that many people.
Just out of curiosity, did you reach out to those writers and invite them down to show them around and what goes on here?
Well, either directly or indirectly.
Okay.
So we do press trips, typically 4 a year. We'll bring in 10 to 15 journalists, and they're here for 4 or 5 days. And maybe one of the other things I feel like we do well is we don't force feed. We kind of serve Nashville and Nashville's offerings up on a platter, maybe more of a buffet.
Mm-hmm.
And, tell them to pick what they want to learn about.
Mm-hmm.
What are you surprised about the city? And, I think that's one of the maybe strengths of us, and one of the things we've learned over the years. Letting people discover what they like, letting people decide what they want to write about, gets you a much better story. And we have 3 full-time people on staff that work the national and international PR effort. And we have 2 people that work, the local communications piece. So it's just as important to tell the city what we're doing as it is to tell potential visitors what's going on here. It's just been a path that has worked so well that I don't see us ever deviating. The hardest part is keeping it fresh.
Mm-hmm. Now, you also have offices outside of Nashville as well.
Correct. We have primarily salespeople in the U.S. throughout the country. And then we have a rep firm in the U.K. which does marketing, sales, and PR. So they help us tell our story primarily in the U.K., but also in the European mainland. And they've been on board almost exactly a year, and we'll be expanding their reach because they've done a great job. And the international market is where our growth potential is.
Mm-hmm. Now, do you work hand in hand by chance with the airports when you said international community? Because also Nashville International Airport is interested in having nonstop flights directly in and out of Nashville to other major cities such as London, which they do have that flight. Do you work with them to try to encourage them? I don't know, something from Spain, Germany, Norway, for instance?
Without question. We worked real hard. We were very involved in getting British Airways to start flying from Nashville to Heathrow. That flight's doing well. We've started conversations with Delta Airlines about other markets, always in conjunction with the airport, though. It's a great partnership. And, as I said, British Air, it made me think, and it's a different form of PR, but when we were talking to British Air and we're talking to other folks, we also use the musical assets of the city. In the case of British Air, the Kings of Leon, who are based here, were playing Hyde Park. So we used kind of an activation, but more of the PR side of a Nashville band playing London,
mm-hmm.
made them think different about us, and it wasn't a country band. So I consider that a form of PR where we'll invite clients to attend a show from a local artist if they're on the road, or we'll invite them here to catch a show. Might be CMA Music Fest or CMA Awards, or you mentioned the draft. The draft was a 3-day PR machine.
Oh, it was that, no question about it.
Yeah, we used the event to tell the PR story, and it obviously worked. It was a huge success by any measure, including the NFL's own, fan rating was rated the highest fan or best fan experience of any event they've done.
Mm.
So,
Now,
when you can get other people to talk about you, that's when you're gonna.
And in the PR business, we call them influencers. And there's a big drive now to use influence marketing. You're absolutely right. To hear from other people that others respect and listen to really adds to the genuineness of your product or service.
I would totally agree. I'm not as good at using the current terms like influencers because I just call it what it is.
And the results are the same. Now, have you tried anything? I know at one time there was a show, it may have ended a year or so ago, actually called Nashville, where they actually filmed just about everything right here in the city of Nashville. Was that beneficial to you?
Incredibly beneficial. We didn't have a whole lot to do with getting it off the ground, but we put money behind it. We used social media and worked with them to promote Tune In or to talk about venues in town that were included in the show. So there was always an intentional effort to tell the story and even use the cast members to tell our story.
Mm-hmm.
So, a great example, a great point you make, we're using the opportunities to turn them into, PR moments, PR spotlights for the city. Even the events we produce. July 4th obviously just finished up. Police estimated 343,000 people were watching the fireworks.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the fireworks and one of the acts were featured on CMT. So they came in and turned our event, which was a room night selling purposeful event, into a hour and a half PR event on cable television.
Mm-hmm.
And even the same thing with New Year's Eve last January, where NBC and CNN wanted to come in and they picked up bits and pieces. So in addition to work in the media, we also try to create events that the media is interested in, and they reach out to us.
Now, you mentioned creating the events. Do you talk to them to get some ideas of what sort of things that, and this is probably a two-part question, what sort of things that they are looking for, and at the same time perhaps also use Nashville as a location for either television or a movie, some parts of it being shot here?
We're very fortunate. If you listen, that's me knocking on wood. That there's a lot of interest in the city, and we're fortunate that we can be a little more selective today than, say, 10 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
10 years ago, we tried to wheel and deal with almost anybody we could if it was credible. Today we're more careful about how the message is portrayed. I could use, if I pick on CNN a few years ago, they would send in an anchor for New Year's Eve, and she always wanted to go put on a pink cowboy hat.
Mm-hmm.
Said, if you didn't come with that hat, don't go put it on.
Right.
It's not a costume party.
Mm-hmm.
But like if you wear that pink cowboy hat all the time, you're more than welcome. Come on, but it's some of that. Don't do what you do. Come here and figure out what it is about Nashville that fits with your interest or your, don't just make up or take a stereotype and go perpetuate it. We want the stories fresh. We want them different. We want them broad. We want to showcase broad genres of music. Lower Broad is famous and fabulous for live music and honky-tonks, but the city has so much more to offer as well.
And, that brings up another question then, particularly about the music. How do you go about letting those outside of Nashville know? One of my favorite places downtown obviously would be the Bourbon Street Blues and Boogie Bar, because there you not only do you feel the atmosphere, but authentic blues singers. Needless to say, you've got some top jazz musicians here. you've got a super symphony here and a state-of-the-art symphony hall for them to play in. How do you let people know that there are boatloads of different music genres here in Nashville?
It's a constant focus of our direct PR efforts when we're talking to journalists and media. It's an intentional part when we produce an event. We will make sure there's at least 3 different genres of music represented, usually 4 or 5, and they all live here. So there's an intentionality, when we book the talent, that they have to live here. There's an intentionality that we want maybe R&B and Americana and rock to go along with country. Then one of the things we maybe did way better than we thought we would do, we've now produced 2 documentaries. One was called For the Love of Music, which was the history of music, or is the history of music in Nashville, from the Fifth Jubilee Singers through today with Jack White, Kings of Leon, Keith Urban. So multi-genre, historical, chronological perspective that touches on Jimi Hendrix or Elvis, and Night Train to Nashville, and country music and gospel music and everything else. And it won awards. It aired all over the world. So it became a marketing tool that aired as a documentary. So it was a PR piece, but it wasn't a travel piece. It was a true documentary. And we've just finished, and we're shopping a documentary on the Nashville songwriter, and it's called It All Begins with a Song. But same thing, songwriters from all genres, young, old, black, white, male, female, you name it, we're talking to them. And they all live here, same thing. So here's this hour-and-a-half film that we know British Air and Delta Airlines have already said they'll take it in flight. Some networks have asked for it, but we really want the release to be in the HBO, Netflix, maybe Amazon arena. We think that's the right audience. But it's PR really in its purest form.
That's interesting, because not long ago, that I actually produced a jazz CD, and that was one of the caveats, one that all the musicians had to live in Nashville. And CD Baby, Amazon, iTunes, and the others carried it. And when I get reports, I look at the music has been picked up not only around the country, but around the world. So, I don't, all I know is the city and the town that it comes from. That's pretty much about it. But the fact is that people are picking up on the wide variety of music that really is available here in this town.
They absolutely are. And it's not about hiding or running from country music, because I think the efforts that we have executed have actually put more eyes on country music as well, and help them, because it's almost and I even hate to use the word, a polarizing genre, where you go either, I hate country music or I love country music. But we prefer to think there are 2 kinds of music, good and bad. And that's in every genre. So if you're a music snob, Nashville may not be your town. But if you're a music fan, we've got something for you.
Well, one of the things that I discovered, having been here, 15 or so odd years, is that country music spreads a wide net. I mean, to me, all of it, some of that music fits into good music and covers a wide. It's not. I don't see it as being clearly defined as country, as maybe most people would. Taylor Swift and some others. I mean, they reach a wide variety of people here and around the world, and it's played on stations other than just country stations as well.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, if you look at, and I mentioned Keith Urban and New Year's Eve, Keith Urban is a masterful musician. He's a great songwriter. He was jamming last New Year's Eve with Peter Frampton. It defies genre specificity if you really get down to it. Radio stations and sometimes media like to put everything in a category. We like to rip the walls down and say, come have fun and experience a city that helps create the world's music.
Well, one of the other things that I think about that Nashville has, not only are the restaurants that we have here, I mean, people are stumbling over themselves to open up a restaurant here, but the art that's here. The Parthenon is here. You've got the Frisk Museum history. You've got the Hermitage. So just Cheekwood, just a whole bunch of places that people can come and learn so much more about Nashville and have a great experience here.
Without question. We do a ton with Herb Williams, the Crayola artist. We do a quarterly art exhibit in our visitor center where we try to find local artists, showcase their work, offer it for sale, and keep that fresh. And almost the same thing with the restaurants. As you talked about how that's evolved, we're talking to the chef from Rolf and Daughters and Folk about taking his team to Denmark and cooking with some of the most highly acclaimed international chefs, and obviously Copenhagen and Denmark, some consider the culinary capital of the world. So we see a PR opportunity there.
Mm-hmm.
James Beard House contacted us a couple months ago and said they're going to do a Taste of America. They want to invite 20 cities to bring a chef, and they wanted Nashville to be one of them.
Well, that's outstanding.
Yeah, it was the cost of flying the chef up and him preparing 500 servings. So minimal cost. Nashville's at the table with 20 of the top culinary cities in the country. I'll take that.
Mm-hmm. That really sounds great. Well, any other important things that you'd like to impart to our listeners before we let you go?
If your listeners are in the PR field, thank you, and keep working at it. If you're trying to figure out, I would say I hope, maybe I hope's not the right. Don't let PR be one-dimensional. We have found there are a lot of forums, a lot of ways to make it work.
Mm-hmm.
So we appreciate the folks that are in the field.
Well, look, do you have a web page, or how about giving out your web page address
Sure.
so that folks can find you and find out what's going on here in Nashville?
Thanks. Yeah, I should have done that if I was doing my job better. VisitMusicCity.com is our website. Visit Music City will get you on our Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook accounts. And we're constantly talking about what's going on in the city, and we love company, so come see us.
Well, Butch, let me say thank you so very, very much for joining us on the Public Relations Review podcast. And I'm hopefully that some folks will hear this, they'll get excited, and they'll be landing at Nashville International Airport in the near future.
Well, from your lips to God's ears, thank you very much, Peter. Honor to be on your show.
All right, thank you. Thank you, and have a great day.
You too.
Right. Bye.
This podcast is produced by Communication Strategies, an award-winning public relations and public affairs firm headquartered in Nashville, Tennessee. Thank you for joining us.